Welcome back, everybody. Here we are once again, two awakened men just talking and no holds barred. And who knows what the hell we talk about today? Because I never know. We don't plan these out. So I think that's the most fun for me. No planning, going with the flow and seeing what happens. Sometimes my cat gets in the way. I don't know if you guys noticed, but she shakes the monitor there. And it's if you see me wobbly, that's my cat doing all that stuff. It's not me. I'm okay. So, Daniel, how have you been this week?
Good. I think. Think
You
about it.
think, huh?
It's happened how it was. Barely remember. Yeah, just been going on adventures, having fun.
Yeah, that's,
My normal life.
having fun is always good. I had always, for me, it's always cool for me to see how all this inner work that I do comes out into what I call the the normal work routines that I have. So I have this IT company that I own. And yesterday I had a situation where a server was down. And it's been a while since I've had like major outage like this. It was a law firm that was down for a while. And as I was working on the server, I got there and I got there very calmly, and it's like, all right, what's the problem? And I could tell they were stressing. It was their work. It's end of the month and everything, uh, and they were all stressing. I was very calm and collected. I said, okay, all right, so let's go ahead and work on the server. Started working on the server, and I was realizing, wow, this is one of the calmest states I've ever been in because I have all these people behind me or always looking at me at what I'm doing for the server because they need to get back up.
Right.
And before I reflected on it and I was like, wow, I really have changed because at this point I was very calm, taking the thing apart, finding out what was wrong. And I wasn't stressing. And it's like, wow, this is different. I was kind of in shock, but it showed me that some of the things I've been working and moving through have been helping me out so much because before I wouldn't have been able to think straight. It was so cool
Right.
just seeing it. I don't know. That's probably one of the most fun things for me to see out of this work. I don't know. Have you had that type of experience, Daniel, where you see where you were at before to now?
All the time. Yeah. I mean, I call them like cosmic redos, where I believe in the spiral. Like we re-experience the same thing.
Yeah.
Time isn't linear, so these days, like it seems like things will happen and the same thing will happen to the point where it almost is like Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
And then I get to like redo it in a new way. Maybe I'm just more aware of what's happening, but yeah, I think that's how this school works.
Yeah, I think so because we always get a deeper layer. That's one thing I have learned. Once you move through that particular thing, whatever it is, like me stressing out with the servers, there is always another situation where I will learn even further down the path, the spiral I call it. When I go further down the spiral, and I'll get into another situation where it's another test and it's another level of being calm within the storm, the tornado, or whatever you want to call it. So
Right.
so we're never finished, and that's one of the things that are very important to realize is that in the inner work, it's like we're always going to find something wrong. We're human, we're imperfect beings. And the whole thing is being able to take those breaks in between and just, enjoying life because that's what we are. We are a human having a soul, having a human experience. That's one thing I've always stressed out in all the work that I've done. It's like just make sure that you're enjoying yourself and not always working because work doing this inner work all the time is it's just tiring sometimes.
Yeah, I think doing the inner work can become an addiction. I know I've done it.
Yeah, me too.
And it can become like you're searching for something to work on and you're not enjoying or appreciating what you've already done. Which is that feminine energy, right? The masculine pushes forward, but the feminine's like, why don't we enjoy what we already created?
Yeah.
And we forget to do that.
Yeah, and as men, we're always, we got to move forward and continue on. And you're absolutely right. The masculine energy is just, it's like, let's keep working. And the feminine energy kind of slows us down and says, wow, look at the fruits of your labor. Really enjoy it. And I don't think we do this because our society kind of pushes us all the time to get something new or something better or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's about getting more, right? More. I got to get more, make more money. I got to get more friendships. I have to be in a better relationship. I mean, you look at Facebook and all the ads are like, you want a better relationship, and you want to make more money and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just create an ad for fun and be like, I want to make you feel good exactly where you're at. You'll get nothing more, but you'll just feel good with all the stuff you've already created. And you'll get to have fun and enjoy it and play with all the things you bought. Like, people literally have backyards and they're not even in them ever. They like create these things and then they're like, I got to go work a bunch of hours to create this new thing. Like, you didn't even enjoy the house you're in. And I've done that. So
yeah,
especially in relationships, I noticed that a lot of times you get in relationships, friendships or intimate, you want it to become something more. Like, you're like, well, is this the one? I'm like, you haven't even enjoyed the third date. And I've done that. Like, why don't you just enjoy the moment and not take it seriously? And like, that's just as fun,
Yeah, the enjoying the moment is what it comes to eventually, or it is. I mean, that's really what it is, because there is no other moment. And I used to get confused by that. It's like, what does it mean? It's like being in the moment. The being in the moment is sitting right now here and just enjoying where we're at, not looking into the future. I'm not thinking, oh, what's going to happen in 5 minutes into the podcast? And I'm not looking, oh, look what happened just a couple of minutes in the podcast. I'm right here just enjoying this moment. It took me a while to figure that out, because it took some practice for me to get there, because I didn't realize how much mind chatter we all have about that, especially me. I had a lot. I always had something going on in that brain. So and I'm not saying that I perfected everything, but I'm aware of it now. That's the big thing, like you said.
Right. Because we're always in the moment. To me, there's no choice. It's, are you enjoying it? Or are you embracing it? Because even if you're thinking about the future, you're still in this moment, creating whatever it is. But because I had this idea or this thought, like, life is just about getting through the day and enjoying the moment as much as you can. That's was kind of the meaning of life that came through me in this moment. And I was like, wow, that's so simple. Like, that's all it is. Like, I just got to pay enough bills so I'm not homeless, or I could be homeless and be fine, and enjoy the moment as much as I can. It's not about being successful or fulfilling some divine purpose or all these things that'll happen naturally through your flow. It doesn't even mean to be your job, but like, you can just chill and enjoy the moment, enjoy our tea as we talk with each other.
Yeah, that's my favorite part. People tell me that I talk a lot, and I do. And I love that part about podcasts. Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I love that talking for me, because it's just the way I love to connect with people. And, sometimes, because Spanish was my first language, and now I speak majority English, except with my family, with my mom and my sister and relatives. I find myself sometimes having issues trying to explain something, especially when it gets into the spiritual realm. And sometimes I have to think in English, in Spanish, and translate it to English in my head. But the conversation is, to me, that's my moment. I love those moments where I'm talking, like right now, just enjoying talking to you about this. And I know I that's why I'm always very honest with everybody. It's like, and I tell them, look, if I'm talking too much, just tell me. It's like, hey, Mario, you're talking too much. And I won't take it personal. I never do. But it's fun. It's the way I realize that I'm enjoying that moment if I'm talking a lot, like I am now.
Yeah, I do the same thing. And I've told who I'm in intimate relationships with, like, you can tell me to be quiet, and that happens, and I love it,
Yeah.
Because I'm super smart, analytical thinker,
Yeah.
combined with feelings. So, like, I love analyzing something to the core. It's so fun for me. And sometimes that's considered not spiritual because you're thinking about things, which is the stupidest, dumbest teaching ever. Don't think, like, think through. Like, who said not to think things through? Like, you don't, like, sit there all day, but, like, be like, well, I got to get to this place by 3 p.m. So I'm going to leave at 2:30 because it takes me 20 minutes to get there. Like, that's smart. That we have spiritual people just running around with no, organization at all, which is not good.
Yeah, I come back to that because I always say this. It's like we're in a society. If we were all just in the jungle or in the mountains where time really wasn't relevant and we could live by sundown and sun up, I mean, that'd be fine if that's the lifestyle where we're at. But when we're in a society like this, time, it is moved by time. And unfortunately, we're not at a time where we're all psychic and we can tell what time it is right now, where it's all developed, where I can send you a telepathic message and go, we should be meeting now. So
Yeah.
At least we haven't all developed it, right? Because there's some psychics out there that are pretty amazing.
Yeah. I mean, time's just easier. I bet, like, when they were in the jungle, they're like, we will meet here when sun is there. Like, and that's still the same thing. So, I mean, how would you have the, people meet up? That's a good, that's a good use of time.
Yeah.
I mean, you would want to say, I need a couch that's this many inches long so it fits in this area, which to me is what time is. It's just a measurement of space.
Yes. Yeah, and it's one of those necessary evils we all talk about. It's like, oh, if I had enough time, it's like, really, if we had more time, then we're going to use more of it. So,
yeah.
And we'll fill it up because that's what we're good at.
I love the Alan Watts quote, like, how can you have enough time? Like, how do you, like, it's just like a weird language in general. Like, you can't have time. You can meet at a time.
Yeah.
You can't have inches. Like, you can't be like, well, okay, this is a men's podcast. We'll keep it 13. But, like, other than that situation, like, you can't have inches. So, like, or have whatever. So, like, when people are like, I don't have enough time, I'll say that sometimes. Like, you can't have time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because, when you get in the flow state, I can get, like, 3 things done at once. Like, it gets a little weird. When I'm, like, at the DMV getting all my work done. I was at a restaurant, and we got all our emails done, me and this woman that I've been seeing, Grace, all our emails done for her trip. And I'm like, oh, my God, I'm actually doing 2 things at once, which is actually, so time has nothing to do with productivity, but we, like, attach it together. Like, if I had more time, I would paint. Like, what does that mean? Like, you're just being lazy. Like, let's be honest.
And it's never about having the time. It's about making the time. What is your priority? That's the other part that I've learned about this is I have to make myself a priority. If I want to paint, and that is a high priority for me to paint, for me, if it's something I enjoy, I put that in front of some other things and go, it's like, okay, this other task, I can do it some other time, and I'll paint at this time. So it's a matter of putting ourselves first, and we're not taught that. It's something we have to learn unless you were taught that, but I haven't really heard of anybody getting taught to prioritize themselves. The spiritual movement has caused us to reevaluate that and put ourselves first. Mm-hmm. That's one thing I have learned.
No, I love that a lot. Putting yourself first. I think that before money, before time, before anything. I wrote this letter, but it was from Matt Kahn's teaching, so I have to give him credit. But it was like a letter to obligation where I just said I'm not obligated to anything anymore. And that was something I needed to let go, right? Because that's, we put other people and our obligations before our health and ourselves, which is not working. I mean, look at our society, right? We're super sick, and people are eating horrible fast food because they're putting all their obligations before themselves.
Yeah.
And even their children or family or parents or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because in that rush, we have a tendency, and I'm guilty of it too. I mean, like yesterday, I have like about an hour to an hour and a half commute to where the client was. So I felt it. Oh, I got to head on over there, and uh, I totally forgot because I left so fast to have my own breakfast down here. So I went through and
Yeah.
drove for a fast food breakfast, and it's like, oh, it's like, why did I do that? And I don't realize it until it finally just happens. And then I become aware that, okay, next time, let me slow down rather than just taking off so fast and really put it into perspective. It's like, okay, we can do this. I can do that. Granted, the client is waiting, but I do have options. I do have fast food, not fast food, but I do have foods that I can eat fast, like maybe just an energy bar, for right now. Yeah, like a healthy energy bar, not one of those that has tons of sugar in them. So something like that. So I do have alternatives. I just had to slow down to see it, and I didn't because I was so caught up in it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, that's slowing down. I mean, I noticed that. I mean, being around, lately I've been around, feminine energy, like super strong, and like it slowed me down. Like I needed it, that energy with being around a woman, but like just cooking slower and like eating healthier, like all those things. Like I'm like, oh, like, and I live my own life. So like, I don't have to go as fast because I don't have people telling me I need to, which is nice.
Right.
I'm very appreciative of that. But I feel healthier and better, and ideas will come to me when I slow down. Like I'll be like, well, how am I going to pay for this? And I'll be like, boop, there's the idea. And I'm like, I don't even know where that came from. I'm like, all right, there we go. I know what to do. I'll have dreams and what to do to like take care of myself. But we don't slow down enough to hear those voices and have those ideas because we're pushing forward with our minds instead of going, okay, let me slow down and see what really I desire.
Yeah.
And usually it's less than you think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that it's the other part for me, at least, is dreams speak to me. I don't know if they do that for you, but for me, it's like when I'm slowing down, and then at the end of the night, sometimes I have these profound dreams, and some of them I don't understand. But what I've learned from my dreams is what emotion do I feel when I get up? I do figure out it's like, oh, the water symbolizes like some feminine energy, or it symbolizes this, depending how I feel at the time. And the meaning of the water will change based on the situation. I know that there's dream books that you can get, but to me, that's putting it into a box. If the water is this, it's not necessarily what that book says. It's more of what did you feel towards that water? Because I feel the I'm saying the word a lot. I feel that the feeling really is what is moving us. If I try to figure out what the water is, all I'm trying to do is put it into a box that my logical mind says, but that doesn't necessarily reflect what my emotional state is. Did I make sense?
Yeah, no, I mean, the feeling in any dream, which is just a visualization, is more important than actually it coming true or knowing what it is. Yeah, I mean, lately I've been having dreams that literally telling me what to do the next day. Like almost to the point where like, go do this. I'll be like, oh, my dream said to meditate and do qigong. Let's go out. Do you want to go outside and meditate? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Like that's what I'm supposed to do this morning. Like it was so funny. But I mean, yeah, when we're listening and we're tapped in and we're slowed down, we can hear those messages, right? And this is even practical to me. Like if you're building something, like if I'm building a model or you're building like a cupboard, if you slow down, you won't make the mistakes and it'll actually get done faster.
Yes.
This is the tortoise and the hare story, which I just experienced. But like it's easier. And then you have more energy because you slow down and you can do more things. But it's when you're going fast, you see those people and they're so frantic, they're running their adrenals and their stress system like to a T, where they're going to need more sleep. They're not going to be as happy. They're not going to be as productive. I mean, even in science, they're saying being happy and slowing down and enjoying your work makes you better at your work. No one's listening. It's like, right. I know you have to go the spiritual side. I agree, the spiritual side, you can get all the downloads and ideas and your guides are going to give it to you, but this is not even hocus pocus anymore. Like,
right. You know, well, I mean, there was even an article that came out now in the science magazines that we're not really in a shared, they're saying that scientists have are proving a theory that we each have our own reality, and we're not in a shared reality. That the shared reality concept is something that is not really there. It's something that we created through our each individual realities. So right. What we see is really what we believe it is. So what you see is what you believe it is. And then when we come together, while we're both in that same space, we're still seeing the world differently. And and they're talking about in every aspect, in the way that we see the colors, in the way our emotions are going to react to whatever happens in that environment. It's still our reality. And to me, that's why it's so important to slow down, because as we have our own individual realities proven by science, is that we have to see where we stand at the moment, back to that present moment. We see the territory, and we're going to see the territory as, okay, this is where I'm at right now, and let me just enjoy that part of it.
Right. No, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, yeah, they say you hallucinate your own reality, which is not even hard to see. So like that's why eyewitness testimony is not used in courts. It's not good evidence because everyone sees a different reality.
Yes.
So they don't use it because it hasn't worked. So what does that teach us? Like, our perception and our reality is different, and we can hold our own truths while not worried about convincing others to believe what we believe in, because that's such a waste of time.
Yeah.
Because they're seeing their own reality. So literally, you're like watching two different movies, and you're like, I'm seeing this, and then they're like, I'm seeing this, and you're like convincing them that you're right, which has never worked, and it's really hard.
Yeah, and that comes back to the point when we have opposing views. While there can be some discussion to convince a person, there can be a debate. If a person is set in their view, it's going to take a lot of work to change that view, because that's the reality they're in. And to just push that and push that and push that, if the person does not want to switch the perspective of the reality or point of view of whatever, then they're not going to change. And sometimes, to me, we waste so much energy there rather than actually spending it where it needs to be. So if like climate change, a lot of people are spending energy trying to convince everybody else. And when I'm climate change, but the thing is that we can set the example. We become the example of, we're going to now recycle more, and we start recycling and be the example. And then I feel that at that point, when we're doing it individually, we can go and talk about it because we have set that example. So it's like, do you know what? Right. Because in their reality, they don't know what that looks like. For me, it's like, I didn't know that you can recycle all of this stuff. It's like, I actually discovered through a friend of mine, it's like, oh, wow, you can recycle that. I didn't know all that, but the reason I learned is because I was coming back to, in my reality, I didn't know you could do all of this. And in her reality, she knew some of those things. And then that becomes part of my reality. It's like, oh, okay, so I can do that and I can do that. So rather than trying to push an agenda, I feel if we can set the example and then talk about what we do as the example, that's the way that we deal with any situation, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. And finding people that want to hear what you have to say too. I
Yeah.
mean, we were talking about this before it came on. Like, I went door to door for the environment. So I'm pretty much my why of doing everything is for Gaia. So like, it's a deep, deep thing for me. Like even how I heal people and do coaching, it's like, so they become more loving. So then Gaia heals and everyone's more connected. Like, it's all about that. Keeps me going. But when you go door to door, if they didn't agree with you and didn't want to talk to you, I didn't try to convince anyone. That was our training. We're just looking for the people that want to learn from us.
Yep.
Because it doesn't, like, if Joe Hidden Witness comes to your door and you don't want to hear him, it doesn't help for them to like try and convince you. Like, it's never worked. It's a waste of energy. So what we would do is knock on more doors. So look for the people that wanted to learn or at least discuss, right? If they didn't, we just go and we would thank them and then we leave.
Yeah.
Which has taught me so much about, it's okay to have opposing views, and we meet in the middle somewhere, right? It was about recycling, not about climate change. So, whatever you want, I would go way on the route where I would like shut down industry to save forests, but like other people are more about industry. So where do we meet, right? It's not that I'm right, you're wrong. It's where do we come together so we can create, just a better reality for each other, whatever that means.
Yeah. And as men, we're taught to be very forceful in some things. It's like, oh, we got to make sure that this is known, and oh, we got to make sure this is known. But we're never taught to be, the listener. And a lot of this thing that you're talking about requires us to listen. And I don't mean hear. There's a difference between listening and hearing. It's like I can hear a conversation, but listening means actually listening to what is being said and actually taking it in and processing it. Hearing to me is like just hearing like the chatter in a crowd. It's like, oh yeah, I hear you talking. Yeah, I hear you talking. And to me, that's not listening. So I want to distinguish that. And that's very important, that when we are in situations where we truly do want to learn, sit down and actually slow down and listen, not hear.
Yeah. I mean, taking in the energy and just being present. You learn more that way. I mean, we know that. But, and sometimes people think listening is like staring in someone's eyes and being like this. But that's not even listening. Now you're just being a performer.
Yeah.
Like, I'm listening to you, but I'm looking at the tree. Like, and sometimes I'm doing dishes, right? When I'm listening to someone, like, I think that gets a little ridiculous in the spiritual world.
Yes.
And I was a therapist, so obviously I'm a trained listener. Thank God. Go to therapy school if you're a male so you can learn to be in relationships, because it is the best relationship training you could ever get. Because you're like, don't give advice, just sit there and listen. I'm like, oh, this is like how I'm going to be in a relationship.
So that's Daniel's dating tip 101.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm good at that. Well, I'm actually pretty good at that. But like, yeah, dating tips. Yeah. Listen, open the door, and I'm going to call out to men. Take women on dates. They like it. There's something about like my age group that doesn't take women on dates. It's weird. They like it. Do it.
Yeah, some of that old-fashioned stuff is still good, right? That's what you're saying.
Well, yeah. I mean, I like it.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been trained by women to do it because we aren't trained at this age to do it, but it feels good.
It's a lot of fun going out like that. And listening, you're right. Listening is a very big thing. I've discovered, I never realized how much of a good listener I was until somebody told me that. And I go, and I actually asked, but I grew up with a whole bunch of women. So I have my training that way. But, the listening part is a very big thing. And we all want to be heard, but not a lot of us listen, especially as men, because we're always trying to, all right, let's get this done. It's like, all right, are we done with that conversation? And then the next thing automatically that we try to do, let's fix it.
Right.
Like, all right, we're going to fix this. It's like, no, sometimes it just means sit down and just listen and just be compassionate and just listen. Now, don't ridicule or anything. Don't go, oh, poor baby or something. just kind of be there for hold them, and just be loving.
Yeah. It's pretty simple. And it takes that connecting with your, I don't want to say get out of your mind, because I don't like that, because your mind's going to go, but knowing like you don't have to say whatever's on your minds. And it's like, oh, even when we're talking, my mind will be like blah 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 about something. I'm like, oh cool, I'll listen, but like I need to be present right now, and I'm not going to say, like, I'm waiting for you to stop talking before I even know what I'm going to say. I don't want to like pre-plan what I'm going to say in my mind, because it might add, you might go somewhere else. But it never stops. People think like, oh, the mind stops. It's like, well, no, you're just aware of it.
Yep.
And then you're like, oh, cool. Like, but I'm not going to fix her or give her advice, even though my mind wants to.
Yes.
Because people think they're actually their minds. They're actually their thoughts, which is not true, because I've had thoughts that are not from me. I'm like, whoa, where's that? So they can't be me.
Yep. I know my brother passed away, and it's like sometimes I know he's throwing something in there for me, and I'm going, it's like, oh, where'd that come from? That sounds like my brother. That's probably where it came from.
Oh, so. My rule is, if you think something came from a past loved one, then it did. Because that thought means it did, right? Because it's your reality. So someone else might be like, no, it isn't from your loved one, but
like, well, it's like, if you say so, it is for me.
I use the F word. I don't know if I'm supposed to do that.
Oh, that's fine. Or
good.
So I don't think it would cause a problem, and if so, then I guess we just bring the video down, or I'll mute that part of it if necessary.
Jesus just told me it's okay, so then it's okay.
Uh-oh. Now you're asking for it.
I would have let you into blissful heaven, but you said that F word that one time on that podcast, Dan. No, you can't go.
The other part I'm finding very interesting, at least for me. I always like to use me. And if everybody wonders why I use me, it's like, because I can't talk about anybody else but me. So,
right. Sure.
So the other part that I've learned, so I used to be very peculiar on how things are. Even I laugh because this happened right at the beginning. And if you guys been tuning into every episode, I've talked about my perfectionism. And here I was before the podcast trying to get this background all lined up. And it's like, oh, man. And then I said, you know what? Fuck it. It's like, just let's go. And I feel very proud of myself. But my mind chatter was going crazy. It's like, oh, look, it's like, see that little part right there? That's not even to that part. And it's like, oh, no. And I was like, hell no. It's like, okay, we're going with it. And that to me has been my slowing down to recognize that, because I would have gotten caught up and go, it's like, all right, a little bit more to the bottom, until I was driving myself crazy. It's crazy. But slowing down is very important.
Yeah.
That's why I use that example, if people are wondering. And that's where it helps understanding yourself a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you understand that quality and you grow just accustomed to the qualities that you have, and if you want to change them, you have that choice to change them. But it's the only qualities you can't ever change. Back to trying to change somebody's mind, it's like you can't change their mind. It's like if they don't want to change their mind, they're not going to change their mind.
Right.
So
yeah. And so waste of energy.
Yeah, it's a waste of energy.
Like convincing even other people that your decisions are the best decisions are the waste of energy.
Yeah.
Like people do that too. They're like, I've done it with my parents a million times. And I just like literally stopped asking people for advice and just made decisions and just did it. Because it's so, unless a person knows that lifestyle, right? Like,
right.
Like if I want to set up my car for camping, I'm going to ask someone that's set up their car for camping because I want that. But we as humans will go ask someone for advice. It doesn't have any of the things we want.
Right.
We're like getting everyone's advice. I'm like, but they're not. It'd be like asking a Michael Jordan for baseball tips. Like, he's pretty good at baseball, but I'd probably go for him for basketball, and I would, go to someone else for baseball. So like, what do we? But that's what we do. We're like, I don't want to become that person, but I'm gonna go ask the person for money tips that I don't want their life.
Mm-hmm.
How is that gonna work?
Because they took a different path, and
right.
Their path is their path. My path is my path, just like your path is your path, Daniel. So, I mean, that's what's really funny. We think that we'd have to get everybody's input. And
less input, the better.
Yeah. And
for most people.
And I don't know how you feel about this, but sometimes with me, some of those people that do psychic readings, I feel that the psychic readings are, I'm not going to say that they're not real. I do believe in them. The thing that I have an issue with is the psychic readings that tell you that, they start talking about your future. And they're like, oh, you know what? In the future, you're going to meet Mrs. Wonderful or Mr. Wonderful or whatever. And to me, that's okay. But if I'm the one getting the reading, why am I bringing her or his reality into my space? It's like, for anybody that does that, the only recommendation I ask for you to do, because it's okay. If that's the way you want to live your life, that's okay. But feel it in your gut and see if that's what you really feel. Because sometimes talking about energy, this energy stuff it can get very important because the person doing the reading might be mixing their own energy of what's going on with them. So they have to be very clear. And it's important that you feel it. And I always, when I do readings, I do more readings of the person's energy and where they're at and that kind of stuff. And then I confirm, it's like, does this resonate with you? And if it doesn't, then, okay, then obviously my energy didn't work for you. And you're going to find the right person that has your right energy frequency and be able to help you out in those senses. But don't go just to anybody just because you want a reading. Make sure you feel who they are and feel something, because if you're not feeling it, then why are you doing it?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've done hundreds and hundreds of readings, and my boundary is I won't tell your future.
Yeah.
I probably could. It's not helpful.
Right.
And that's number one, what I want to do in any reading or any situation. Like, I could tell you that on Thursday at 3 p.m. you might meet this person. How is that helpful? Now you're going to be in your head about it for so long.
Yep.
And you're going to be thinking it's not helpful, right? If that's going to happen anyway, why do I have to tell you?
Yeah.
I guess if it's a warning, right? Like, don't be out with this person. I don't do that either because it's not helpful.
It's part of their
Yeah. So I will just give the information in the moment that they need. And it seems to work better. And I don't really want that responsibility of telling their future. Like, it's not these days with how people move so fast and how many options people have. Like, think in the 20s, like, people's options weren't very, like, they didn't have a lot of paths to go on, right? They might have been like this, and they went to this school, and they married this wife. They're with them the rest of their life. They die. Like, it was easy to tell someone's future. Right. Now I can go like 40 different directions. I have like 4 different businesses going at once. Like, telling my future would be, I can't even tell what I'm going to do next week, let alone, someone else. So yeah, I think that's old and it's not helpful and it's unnecessary. While the information you need in the moment that's inspiring is more necessary.
Yes.
So maybe it's like, hey, spend some time with yourself for a week, meditate so you can attract that person, right? That's more helpful than you're going to meet this person at some point.
Right.
That's not helpful, So I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, it's very important for that too, and I like that you said that, because the reason also that I feel the future shouldn't be told in that way, and I love the way you said it. The future is going to change, possibly, and you might be seeing a future, or we might be seeing a future that maybe it was in an alternate universe, or you might, or in another time frame, or in another place, or I mean, you just don't know what future they're telling them, because once you tell a future, you might be talking about a future based on certain conditions in their path.
Right.
Because I mean, even quantum physics talks about that. Quantum mechanics, they say every path is being created. Every choice that we're doing right now is happening. So whatever choice of our conversation and whatever direction we're choosing, it's happening right now. So if I'm seeing the future, I don't know which future I'm seeing.
Right.
That's the other part about this. So it can change very drastically, and that's why I feel also about the future readings. But I guess that's a little pet peeve of mine, if you couldn't tell. It like kind of created a little trigger for me there.
Yeah, I'm not for it either. I mean, that's my truth. Is it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, not helpful, and it's interesting, right? It's fun,
Yes.
but it's not helpful.
Yeah, because it starts creating a perception in the individual.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, if I'm going to meet somebody, then I'm not going to work for it, or I'm not going to do anything. And it's like I kick back and go, it's like, all right, I'm not doing anything anymore because the money's coming in.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's right there. We're changing the future of that person because we don't know what future they're meant to have. So that's kind of neat. I don't know why I got into that rant. Why did I get into that? Maybe it's the coffee or the tea that I'm drinking.
Right. Maybe. No, I think it's super important. And I mean, I love doing readings and love inspiring people. And that's at the core of why I think readings need to be done, is to be people to be inspired and to feel better. Not thinking, oh, I know what's going to happen in my future now. That's not inspiring to me. It's not, I sometimes know, I had the situation where of my last relationship where I was in Savasana yoga and I asked when my next relationship is going to be. And it said to the day, it was like 10 days. And it was 10 days when I met that person. I was going nuts. Now I had the spiritual skills to go, okay, I'm not going to text this person and tell her that. I'm just going to process this myself. And it's 10 days, right? That's not that far. And it already was being set up. But it wasn't really felt good. I didn't need to know that. Almost like I didn't want to know it. Like it wasn't helpful. It was just, and I asked the question, so my fault. But like, and it was, I guess, helpful because I went with it. But like, unless you can be in the moment, it's funny, once you be in the moment and you enjoy the moment, you can start seeing the future intuitions. But people looking in the future can't see the future because they're not in the moment.
No, they can't see your future. That's the thing.
Right.
Yeah. You can see your future. Yeah. And the cool thing is you can see your future and you can choose how to get there if you want to get there, or you can always change it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the cool part about it.
Yeah, definitely. Because there's definitely some things that are more probable in your reality than others from like a mathematical standpoint, right? Some things are 90% going to happen. Like, I'm going to do this podcast today. Like, that was a very high probability. Like, some reader could say that you're going to do a podcast tomorrow. Wouldn't be helpful, but would it be true?
I'll pass out. I will say, it's like when I get the psychic that calls me and says, you were thinking about calling me right now, or you're doing this right now, then at that moment, I'll hire that person for whatever it needs to be. Because the moment I pick up the phone and go, it's like, okay. It's like, well, and they call me right there. It's like, all right, that's it. I'm sold. It's like, you don't have to worry about that. It's like, what's next?
Right.
We're not that connected yet, but well, I don't know. Maybe we are. And we just are not allowing some of that to come through.
I mean, it's just intuition. I mean, the birds can go fly south. And they don't have a clock. They don't have anything.
No.
So to make it sometimes so like this is psychic, like magic, like this is actually just part of our human DNA. Like we are intuitive beings. Like we know where to go and where to be in the right time. Like, so use that. I mean, that and slowing down helps you tap into it, right? Animals slow down.
Yeah.
So they know where to be, but they're not making it happen. They just know, well, it's time to leave.
Yeah, they're going with the flow.
Right. Because they don't have much creation power. They're just in the flow. Well, we have both, but I think making things happen is the old male paradigm, and it's going to be letting things happen. It'll be the new paradigm of being.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not going to happen overnight. I mean, it's definitely going to be over time. I mean, our massive change started in 2012, and
right.
Even in the Mayan calendars, it's like they're saying, if I remember right, I think they said this is a 60,000 year period of transformation. So it's not going to happen tomorrow or the day after tomorrow.
Right.
So just be patient with it, and things will happen, and then we'll go from there.
Perfect.
And I think we're going to go from here.
See, I was going to say the same thing.
There we go. See, synchronistic. We're going with a flow.
Right.
All right. So, as always, I like to leave a challenge. And I'll start this time. So, my challenge, I guess, for everybody, we always talk about being in the present moment. And to me, if people wonder how I get into the present moment, one of the things I do is take 3 very deep breaths, like as much as I can in and then as much as I can out, 3 of them. When I realize I'm getting hectic or how crazy or something or whatever, that's how I slow down. So that's my tip. And my challenge to you today or anytime during the week into our next podcast, if you feel that you're getting there, stop, take those 3 deep breaths and see what it does for you. See if it brings you back to that present moment. That's my challenge for you. And Daniel?
That's perfect. Yeah, I like the slowing down part.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my challenge, I'll just like kind of tie it in with yours. If you're feeling, it's the same thing really, but if you're feeling that frustrated and anxious at your work, or you feel like you're pushing, like you're making things happen, right? Yeah, I'm not saying not because you're letting things happen. You'll do more action. Yeah. You'll be more productive than you'll ever been. It's really weird, but that's when you take the step back and take the breaths and take the break. Every time you're frustrated or anxious, take a break. Don't do things when you're in that state because you make things worse. That's when you freaking make a mistake and you got to go back and redo everything because you didn't follow the flow. The frustration is just your higher self saying, take a break.
Yep.
It's really your being saying, take a break, right?
Yeah.
If you're in an argument with your wife or husband or whatever, take a break. You know that when you're frustrated in an argument, you take a break, you feel so much better. And it's like, if we did that with everything, including our work, like productivity would go up and people would be happier, which is the key.
Well, and that's what we're going to do now. We're going to take a break until next week. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Always hit the like button, subscribe, do whatever. Just get us somewhere out there, and if you have a question for us or anything like that, post it in the comments on YouTube. And now that my migration project is over, I'm getting back to the website and starting to back that up, and I will get it up and running for you guys so we can have somewhere where you guys can actually just download our podcast feed too.
Awesome.
So thank you, Daniel, once again. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And thank you, listeners and viewers. And we'll talk to you next week.